Hi guys, welcome back to Chasing Cases with Maddie. This week's episode is going to be insane, so I want you guys to lock in, strap in, grab your snacks, whatever, and get ready for this crazy story. Let's get into it. Let's chase some cases. So this story is going to be a very interesting case. It is a case of cyberbullying, cyberstalking. It is insane what happened to these two young kids. Let's just get into it. It is way too wild to just sit here and spread key details, so we're just going to jump into background and timeline. So let's go. The story starts in Beale City, which is a small town in Michigan. It is a population of under 300 people, and literally they're all stuck in a high school mentality. If you think of any show, movie, or anything that's all of the people, including the parents, are all stuck in that high school mentality, that is Beale City, Michigan. So now getting into the timeline, we're beginning with Lauren Licari and Owen McKinney. So the two began dating when they were in middle school. They were once known as the golden couple around Beale City. They were literally going to each other's games. They would be doing all the coupley shit, like all the cute things like that young 8th graders, 9th graders do, like the little numbers on the cheeks at the football games. Owen would go to Lauren's basketball games and Lauren would go to Owen's games and all of that. I just wanted to highlight that they were very involved in each other's personal lives, like always at each other's houses, always hanging out with each other's family. Like their families were close. They were friends. Even like Owen's mom and Lauren's mom were friends and all that. So it's like they were a very close-knit family. Like it was just two families joining together just because their kids liked each other and were in a relationship, and they didn't know where it was going because it was middle school and high school love. And let's get into the actual story. Owen and Lauren were cyberstalked and cyberbullied by unknown numbers for 22 months. 22 months. So it began around the time when they had first started dating and all that. It was a few months in, whatever. They just thought it was jealousy or whatnot. Who knows? But the text started out as wanting Owen and Lauren to break up. Every time the numbers were blocked, more were generated. So anytime they tried to run from these numbers, more unknown numbers found them. Instead of changing their kids' phone numbers or anything, they just started going to the school, the parents did, being like, what can we do to stop this? Lauren's mom and Owen's mom were worried about their children's safety just because of what the text pertained to, like it's such explicit topics, inappropriate behaviors, everything about it. I wanted to touch on the sexually explicit material because these texts were filled with sexually explicit material. The texts were telling Lauren to put out or Owen would leave her. The texts were also stating that Lauren was insecure and would comment on her being too skinny, not being popular enough, and Owen not liking her and possibly leaving her. The text got way more graphic as the months progressed. It wasn't just, hey, just little nitpicking like what teenagers do. It was intense always. So the graphic nature of the text, obviously it leads into the suicide comments. The unknown number began to tell Lauren to kill herself and that the world would be better off without her and no one would miss her. Just basically shit that people should not be saying to each other, but a lot of keyboard warriors like to throw that out as an insult. It's been a thing for 10 years now. It's been longer than that, but that's just the birth of the internet made it even worse because now everyone feels empowered hiding behind a keyboard. So eventually all of these texts lead to Owen and Lauren breaking up because they just can't handle the stress. They started fighting with each other. They started pointing fingers at each other, like maybe you're feeding this person information, maybe you are this person. It was too much for a young couple to deal with because I don't even think adult couples could handle a situation like this. So once they broke up, the unknown numbers tracked down the new girl that Owen was talking to. She lived in a completely different city. She did not live in Beale City. They met when they were going to a sports tournament, and that's where Owen met this girl. And they started talking and all that. This unknown number tracked down the new girl's phone number, started texting her and her mother. That's how intense this was. it's insane how this unknown number was like so obsessed with like Owen and so obsessed with like tearing Lauren down, and like it's just insane. Okay, so I want to get into some key details about this because I've just covered the full text messages, so let's get into some key details now. Once the parents raised their concerns about the text messages, they got involvement from the school district, the local PD, and the FBI. So with all of those forces come together, we have an investigation starting. So the school district's involvement basically began with investigating the students, tracking down what students were on their phones at what time, basically reviewing the cameras. They didn't implement any changes or anything. They weren't implementing a no phone policy. They weren't implementing anything like no phones during school hours. Nothing was implemented. They were just checking cameras to see if anyone was being suspicious on their phone and texting. It was basically Lauren was in the principal's office basically telling the principal every time a text was sent, and then they would go back to the cameras, look that up, see what students were on their phone, and try and see like what they were doing. But with cameras like that, you can't just zoom in and see what app they're opening, or if it's a text messages being sent out, or if they're just checking Instagram. Like, you cannot tell what a teenager is doing on their phone just from the security cameras. They began questioning the people closest to Owen and Lauren, like their friends, their mutuals, like anyone who could really like give details like the unknown numbers were giving, because like it's a small town. These kids have been going to school together for a while. Unless you moved in from out of town or whatnot, these kids have been going to school since kindergarten together. So they know each other. It's like, it's kind of hard to avoid each other when there's only like so many kids in your school. Okay, so the focus began on Chloe Wilson. She is literally known right now across the internet and across Beale City as like the local mean girl. Obviously Beale City still idolizes her because like her parents, whatever. It's all the mean girl high school mentality. That is all Beale City is, I swear. Because when you look at interviews of Chloe's parents talking, you can just see that like they didn't have that like grow up immaturity that came with adulthood. You know what I mean? Like, they're stuck in that like 15-year-old mindset. The reason there was focus on Chloe Wilson is because she could give up so many details about Owen and Lauren. So Chloe and Owen used to be such close friends, and they weren't really dating, but they were very close friends. And so everyone speculated that maybe Chloe got jealous of Lauren because there was too much time being spent away from Chloe, that Owen was Chloe's first, and that now Lauren is kind of stepping in to take Owen away. But yes, there was very specific things like Christmas gifts mentioned in the unknown numbers text messages, and then there was also basketball scores that was sent to Lauren, and the only girl on the basketball team with Lauren that scored that many points that game was Chloe Wilson. Another person that was main focus was Adriana, which is Owen's cousin. She was focused on mainly because she is so close to Owen as well, because she's his cousin. People were being mean to her and so rude, being like, why would you do that to your cousin and all that, without actually having proof and evidence. But people were also speculating because Adriana has said that Chloe and Chloe's friends threw carrots at her in middle school. Now, I believe that story because as a girl who was bullied, some of the shit that the bullies did was so unbelievable that like you can't fathom to create that in your head. You know what I mean? Who would think to make up a story of throwing carrots? Like, that literally makes no sense. So yes, people believe she made up that story, and so people say that was Adriana's get back. So 2 suspects, Chloe, Adriana, both cleared because Chloe did a phone dump and dumped in her entire phone and let the police go through it and everything. Nothing was found, and the only thing that she was covering, like the only thing covering her ass, was that her dad was a police officer. So the Beale City Police's involvement, they did like nothing besides assist the principal. It was a lot of talking to the students and waiting for the FBI to get involved. Like, that was a lot of what the police did. They started by looking at school cameras, but like the principal had already started reviewing cameras, so it's like whatever. So now we get to the FBI involvement. This literally, they began with the accounts, the unknown numbers sending to them. They traced down what app the unknown number came from. And it ended up being an account from Pinger. And so once the FBI issued a search warrant to Pinger, they discovered certain numbers were pinging back to a certain IP address. The FBI also had Owen's mom send in her contacts list. Basically, it started off as initial suspects, like who we think could be doing it. So sending in like certain students and all of that. And when nothing was found, nothing could link back to the Pinger message. Nothing could complete the link to that. Once they started just dumping contacts, it was an instant hit, revealing the cyberstalker to be none other than Kendra Licari, Lauren's mother. So, with that being said, that crazy bitch fucking cyberstalked and bullied her daughter for years. 22 months. 22 months. So now let's get into the aftermath. Since I'm pissed off, y'all are pissed off, let's get into the aftermath. So I'm just going to pull up and read something real quick. She was sentenced to 19 months in prison. 19 months. Not even 22 that she tormented her daughter. So, her charges include, Licari pleaded guilty on 2 counts of stalking a minor. She had initially faced charges for communicating with another to commit a crime and obstruction of justice, but those charges were dropped. Her sentence, she received a minimum sentence of minimum 19 months, 1 year and 7 months, and a maximum of 5 years. She was released on parole in August of 2024 and is on supervised release until February of 2026. So yeah, her mother, literally, like, it flabbergasts me. Like, it's mind-blowing. When I first, like, because there's a documentary on Netflix about this. When I first watched the documentary, my jaw was on the floor. So now let's get into the details that Kendra said versus what happened, and then let's get into my opinions. So initially, when the police confronted Kendra at her house, Kendra denied and said that she did not start the text messages. She just continued them. Because there was a break in text messages when the unknown number stopped sending for a little bit. Kendra says that she just continued it. She didn't initially start it, but she continued it. Why would you do that? Like, she's claiming that she was doing it as her own sort of investigation. What? So, Lauren's feelings were very complex in the documentary. It starts off as Lauren in the pink sweatshirt, and she's in the pink shirt, and she's talking about how she misses her mom. She feels like she needs her in her life to feel complete. She also is stating that just basically she misses her and just needs her presence in her life to continue on and all that. But what people fail to recognize is Lauren was interviewed twice for the Netflix documentary. So Lauren starts off in the pink shirt, and then she's in the gray hoodie. The gray hoodie is, I'm not exactly sure how long it is later, but it's months, maybe a year, who knows. So with them filming 2 separate interviews, it really led to mixed societal views on her healing journey, which obviously it's no one else's business how she's healing or whatnot, but that's just what caused it, because Netflix did not lay it out correctly and say like June 20 whatever and May of this year, and like, you know what I mean? Like, they could have laid it out, put dates in the corner or something to be like, this is the interview date, this is the next interview date. Like, that would have made more sense. Lauren has most recently said that she doesn't know when she will see her mom or feel comfortable seeing her mom. She says she still misses her and all that, but it's a very like tough situation, which when she was in prison, she could talk to Lauren and all that, Kendra could. But Kendra, now that she's out on parole, she is on a specific release that she cannot have contact with her child. Lauren can't have contact with her mother, which I believe is a good thing, at least for Lauren's current healing journey, what is needed right now. Because Kendra was sending her texts and all that in prison and basically like manipulating her daughter through text. So it's just very fucked up. So now we get into my opinion. How could a mother do that to her daughter? Like, she literally told her daughter to kill herself. Like, what? I believe she deserved a harsher sentence. Why couldn't she serve the 22 months that she tormented her own daughter? Like, I understand that it was a min and a max, but she's already out. Like, she could have been min 22 months. They gave her high end of this charge, but that still, to me, doesn't feel adequate enough, because like Kendra knows there's an end date. Lauren had no idea there was an end date to those text messages, but when the police walked in the door, that was the end date. Kendra is an awful mother, and she is a manipulative liar. How, like, again, how could someone do that? Like, literally. So my main theory is I believe Kendra was in love with Owen. There's no other reason to do this but to literally, because you were in love with the kid. Like, it's gross. Owen described how Kendra would like dote on him and be like more caring towards him than she like ever was to like Lauren, her own fucking daughter. Clearly there's like this like weird dynamic between like Kendra and Owen. Obviously it's not Owen's fault because Owen was 14 years old during it. Like, yeah, the one thing that was even weirder was that Kendra went to all of Owen's games even after Lauren and Owen broke up. That's weird behavior. You're a weirdo at that point. Unless like you're still friends with the family and all that and still doing big events, but they weren't at the time because the kids broke up. And then the last theory that I believe is that Kendra was feeling like out of sorts because Lauren didn't like need her anymore. She was more independent. She didn't rely on her mother for things anymore. She was becoming a young woman, and so when you hit like high school, you're very like independent, especially if you're doing sports and all of that. So I feel like Kendra had like that sense of like jealousy that she was like losing her daughter or whatnot, and like felt the need to step in to like control her. Kendra was Lauren's safe space during all the texting chaos and all the cyber stalking and the cyberbullying and everything. Kendra was Lauren's safe space. Like, and that was highlighted so many times in the documentary. Like, it makes me sick. Yeah, Kendra felt the need to involve herself in Lauren's life. It was Lauren's safe space, and she fucking ruined it. So, with that being said, that is this episode of Chasing Cases. That's it. That's the end of this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a very different video than I'm used to doing, but I enjoyed doing it. It was a fucked up story. I'm so glad that Lauren at least has her dad that's like stepping up and being strong and kind of like putting an end to Kendra's bullshit. And so I really appreciate that. But all of my love goes out to Lauren Licari. I love you, girl. I hope you're doing good. You're one of the strongest people, I swear. Anywho, without further ado, that is this week's episode. I love you guys. I hope to see you guys in 2 weeks back again for Chasing Cases. Different episode, different case, whatever. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.